Welcome back to Art Start. You are looking at 3 individual projects that we have done as a family using the element of art, the line. We had a lot of fun with the line making a maze. What we did is we had 2 pieces of construction paper, one for the background, red, green, and black, and then we took another sheet and we ripped it into 3 different shapes, and then we glued those on a white sheet of paper and matted it against the same color construction paper of our ripped paper. Then we took the same color marker, except for Jared went a little crazy and did a brown rather than green. And what we did is we went around and traced those shapes endlessly. We just kept going on and on and on, creating this wonderful, crazy maze effect. And this was helping us remember that the line just doesn't have to be a straight line. It can do so many amazing, wonderful things and give such a wonderful illusion as what it's doing in this project right here. Moving on to the next project, we did a little bit of math with our art. We did a couple things here with math. We learned about symmetry, that both sides are always the same. And we learned about printmaking. We didn't have a whole lot of time with this, but it was sequencing. As you can see, their borders, both Jared and Tavin's border, are the same on the top and on the bottom. It has a sequence and a pattern to it, and that's what we call printmaking. Now here you'll see that the silhouette, which is basically our side profile, and it's always black. What we did is we took a piece of black construction paper, folded it in half, and had the person put their head sideways, and the other person took a white piece of chalk and traced the outline of their profile. And then we cut it in half, and that's how you got this beautiful profile of each other staring at each other. I love that Jared has his own little beard there. I thought that was so cool, but it is a really good representative of his profile. Now, I don't have one here because mine actually looked like Linus from the Peanuts. I mean, it was just crazy. So I didn't even bother with it. Plus, I had to go make dinner. I love to incorporate math in art because, first of all, I don't like teaching math because it seems to be a real struggle with Tavin and I. Tavin is more creative anyway, as am I. So, as I said, we've been doing a lot of these art projects together as a family, and I've been able to incorporate math. And as you can see at the top of the bulletin board, we did some nighttime city skylines using shapes. So much fun. Now we had Tavin put out a whole bunch of different shapes, but we had to make him think of how the layout was going to be, what was going to be on the bottom layer, and then moving up and building a scene in front so that some of the buildings were in the background. Now Tavin's is off to the right and mine is on the left. I used a black permanent marker to actually outline mine, but you'll see the black windows. Those are actually cut out from black construction paper as well. But I really like the idea of outlining the black against the other buildings. And Tavin did a great job with his. He had to really think his through, and he worked very hard to make sure that everything was put in order properly. At the bottom, you're going to see that we did our initials. We did monograms. So we learned about monograms and we learned about mosaics. What we did is we took one sheet of construction paper and we used a contrasting color to do our monogram. And our monogram is just our initial of our name. And as you can see, we have TJF. Tavin, Jared, and I used Fleming as our last name because Tavin already had the T. Ironically enough, this actually is Tavin's initials. Tavin, Jared, Fleming. With mosaics, what we did is we took that contrasting color and we tore a whole bunch of tiny little pieces of the construction paper and we glued them into our block lettering to make a mosaic monogram. Jared did something a little bit different. Tavin forgot to put his background on, which is fine because it still looks fantastic. But here we learned several different things. We learned about shapes and symmetry. We learned about placement of objects, and we learned about mosaics and monograms. Here's Jared's skyline. I absolutely love his cityscape because he took a lot of these shapes and put some curves into them. Here we are again. We don't have to have those basic shapes. We know that the line can do many things. And Jared shows us this with the lake. And he shows us the boat. Oh, I love his boat and I love his skyline. I love his flags and his birds and his clouds, and that sun is spectacular. I love how he put the red and the orange right on top of that yellow. So there we have an example of how we can layer things as we were doing in mine and Tavin's cityscape, but the buildings were layered on top of each other. He did it with the sun, which is absolutely brilliant. This is hanging on the refrigerator because I love it. Now you might be able to see some clear squiggly lines on that. Jared tried to do something with the glue. It didn't turn out quite how he wanted it to look, but I think it turned out pretty spectacular. Just goes to show that you can use shapes to make something quite spectacular like a cityscape. Art does not have to be complicated. It just has to be fun. So start here with your art at Art Start.